who will run our massive positive news OTT network. Our massive positive news OTT network. You may remember when CNN was started by Ted Turner, and everybody lampooned it and said that people would not watch 24-hour news. And now basically everyone, except for the major broadcast networks, all the cable and OTT news networks are going 24 hours or close to 24 hours. And in the however many years it's been, several decades since CNN was launched, the format has not really been advanced significantly. I mean, you have left versus right politically, and you have cable versus streaming. I mean, I'm not saying those are insignificant differences, but basically everyone is still in the same mold for the most part. And I want to say a few words about the pandemic and why it's been turning into an inflection or tipping point for a positive news network. You've always had positive news. I mean, Oprah has demonstrated through the OWN, and a lot of different individual television shows have demonstrated that a positive news focus is very viable. But would that work for 24 hours? So let me talk a little bit about the pandemic and about the advancement of the 24-hour news network format. So the pandemic not only gave rise to advances in e-commerce and technologies, communication technologies such as Zoom, but also to social consciousness and social movements like the Black Lives Matters and the racial injustice, criminal justice reform. And what happens is in any time of struggle, like in the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln, it gave front and center to the notion of slavery. And then later you had, women's suffrage and civil rights in the 60s, continuing on to today is important. And whenever you have great upheaval, then you have people re-examining their priorities, re-examining their consciousness and their mindset. It used to be perhaps like in the 80s that greed was good, but nowadays when people can't get out of the house that much, I mean, they still want to make money, but they also are looking at broader issues as well. And a positive news network would not only focus on positive news per se, but be related to all the verticals and tie them together. So you could have positive news network technology, positive news health, positive news sustainability, positive news social justice, positive news exponential technologies, for example, robotics, nanotechnology, positive news sports, because the world has always been dominated by positive developments, but has kind of appealed to the lowest common denominator. That's why online content has kind of, through the advertising model, devolved into, in some instances, clickbait. And an alternative has been subscriptions and paywalls, which does have a large number of subscribers also. It shows that people really do gravitate to quality. I want to say something also about the executives of Netflix and Disney and the like. So these behemoth companies have developed their streaming networks and their content networks based upon legacy systems. So, Disney can easily come out with a streaming system. I mean, they've added some great things like The Mandalorian and a few things, but they have a content library that's massive. And Netflix, and Amazon, they were at first aggregators, and they have later, to massive effect and billions of dollars per year gone towards original programming. And if you look at the internet as a model, as a beginning model. So, for example, you have TechMeme, which is an aggregator site and brings all the best content in terms of technology news. And then you have Memorandum, which does the same thing for politics. And you could do that very easily at low cost and then flesh it out, obviously, with original content towards each of these verticals that I mentioned. So you could have sustainability, positive news, aggregator, and basically have a huge collection of high volume, high quality content, which is hard to do at almost no cost. I call that the trifecta of monetization, because that's what I've done in my e-commerce company. High volume, high quality at low cost, which is extreme, because all three of those are at odds. Like if you want to do high volume or high quality, it's going to cost you a fortune usually. And if you want to do high volume, then it's hard to do high quality. So getting back to Netflix and Disney, for example, as these companies become so massive, like I just read Reed Hastings' No Rules Rules, and it's an incredibly empowering environment. But just how like Nick Saban has given rise to a ton of other head coaches, and Bill Parcells the same, a great leader creates more great leaders. It was the same thing for not GM, I'm thinking not IBM, it's escaping me for the moment, but great leaders in all companies have always given rise to more great leaders. So a lot of the Netflix CEO executives and Disney executives, as content becomes king, and I have actually a podcast called Content is King, because I explain about the multiplier effect of content and the exponential effect going forward. So you might want to check that out. But a lot of these people are being prepped consciously or unconsciously to be leaders, because just like software is taking over the world, content is taking over the world. And these people that have expertise, just like people that have AI and data science, these people can make, millions of dollars on their expertise, because Google and Facebook and Amazon are all competing for them. It's going to be the same thing in content. And these people are going to start looking for CEO opportunities. And what happens is a company such as ours and others that have a culture and a system of innovation build upon each other and attract a critical mass of talent, that good people want to work with other good people. I'll give you an example, like Ark Invest and Kathy Wood. She has an open source model and an innovation model that builds on each other, and then a talent model that builds on top of that. So we've kind of a little bit done the same thing, and I'm sure some other companies as well. So if you want to look at who's going to be the leaders of today, who has the culture, the talent, and the innovation all working in synergy, and overused word together to create disruptive business, and in this case, obviously content business models.